For the last presentation of the morning, you'll be hearing from Ross and I about IR Group developments, some of the new initiatives in which we're working on, and also some of our plans coming up over the coming months. I'm going to start off just with a quick recap of where we are as a group. This year, we reached the 1,000 member mark, which is obviously a big milestone for us as a network. We are represented in 155 jurisdictions, covering over 70 different practice areas and sectors and different disciplines. You can see behind me on the screen that we have a real global split in terms of the member coverage. I think one of the most notable things we've seen this year, which has been very positive, has been the development in Central and South America, and we expect that to continue growing. As you would have maybe heard yesterday, we are also now having groups for our Middle East groups and Africa groups as well. So these are real areas of focus for us over the coming months. Now, I would like to start just talking a little bit about events. We've already had some wonderful events this year. We've been in Tokyo, Chicago, Rome, and of course here in Amsterdam today. But the wheels never stop turning. And next year, we already have 4 excellent locations, which you can see. First up, we have Miami, the 22nd to the 25th. In April, we'll be in Bangkok, and July, we'll be in Zurich, and we'll be in London for our annual conference in September. Which is particularly notable because that will be also our 10-year anniversary. So we will certainly be pulling out all the stops. In terms of the events and how we differentiate them, it might be interesting to some of you. The Miami event is one of our on-the-road events, and that's one of our fixed North American events, which we have each year. I'm sure it'll be very popular or appealing to many of you, especially from the Northern Hemisphere, to escape the cold of Europe or further north. This event is already available to buy tickets. I think we're already up to 90 tickets. It is a capped event of 150. We fully expect it to sell out in the next 4 weeks. So if you are keen to go, please make sure you speak to a member of the IR team. As I said, then we have Bangkok, which again is part of our On the Road series, which is our fixed Asia Pacific event each year, if you are interested in doing business in that region. Zurich will be our deal makers event, so very much focused on transactional work. This is particularly interesting this year because we're working very closely with our Swiss members who have formed a group and a committee who are working with us side by side to really develop really high level content, but also we're hoping to bring a number of clients and opportunities directly to members. So if that is your field, I'd highly recommend it. And London, of course, I just referred to. But apart from our own, let's say, official events, one of the most progressive parts of the network has been the formation of member-hosted events. This is something we only started in 2018, but has become increasingly popular and I think had a very, very positive effect on the network and business channels going in and out. So you can see this year behind me, I believe we've had 16 events already this year. All over the world, from South America, North America, East Coast, West Coast, through Asia. And these are a way for members to invite either from their same jurisdiction, their same region, or on occasion, the same practice area, to get together in smaller groups and welcome them to your own city. So this is something which we can support you with. If there's any of you in the room who are particularly keen to do this yourself and invite others to join you, this is something we can give you full support in. Couple of 3 highlights I'd like to mention which are coming up in the near future. We have a very interesting meeting in, I think, a month's time or so, which will be our DAC meeting, which is for our German-speaking members, which will be happening in Düsseldorf. Following this, we also have our first ever Eastern European meeting, one which we just agreed yesterday, which I'm particularly excited about, in Dubai on the 18th and 19th of February with our Middle East group, where we're also partnering with ISFIN, who many of you will know is a strategic partner of us as a network. And they're hosting an event at the same time where they're inviting a lot of high-level investment bankers, family funds. So it'll be a direct opportunity for members with interest in that region to, again, go directly to potential clients. So you can see behind me, these are just a few images of some of the events this year. And generally, the way these work are a mixture of both professional content, but also a number of social events and quite often excursions as well. So a nice mixture between obviously the business, but also the fun stuff, and that's what brings you closer together. So I'm now just going to run through some of our achievements this year. So, as mentioned, we now have 4 events per year. This was the first time we've done it, which, as you can imagine, really did create a lot more work for us. I don't think we quite realized at the time how much. But I think we've done it successfully, and each of the events is continuing to sell out. So that, I think, has been a great step for us. Of course, being here today, as I think I referred to earlier, this is our largest event we've ever hosted, with 370 members coming from over 80 countries. And I hope from the feedback I've heard, you've enjoyed yourself and it's worked for you. Once again, we have achieved top rank status in Chambers, which is the leading body for recognizing legal firms and lawyers. We passed 1,000 members, as I referred to just a few moments ago. We also have been featured in an array of leading publications ranging from the Financial Times, the Times, Daily Mail, Lawyer 360, and many, many others. And this is via our partnership with our PR agency. So we've had increased exposure in a lot of the leading industry press. We've also formed numerous new groups, the most recent of those being our Africa group, which hosted their first breakfast session yesterday, where we expect to see a lot of development and progress in the coming months. And through our publishing arm, we have also created over 26 publications this year. These are managed by Rachel. I hope you've all had opportunity to connect with over these days. And these are thought leadership pieces in which we bring members together on particular topics to share their jurisdictional expertise. And these have been a really effective way for us to raise our profile because, of course, not only do we promote it, but each of the contributors are promoting it to their own audiences, which benefits each of the contributors. But it's actually also been a key factor in getting us into a lot of the industry press. So these have actually given us an opportunity with a lot of the press, like the Financial Times, to understand the depth of knowledge and expertise in the network. And then finally, you will see that we also have reached a record number of beneficiaries for the Sinchi Foundation, which is IR Global's non-profit and social responsibility arm. And as I mentioned earlier, I will also be giving a presentation during lunch in this room if you are interested to learn more. Now, just to touch on some of the new initiatives, and there has been quite a few this year. First of all, I'll start with the 10 Club. The 10 Club was a group which was created to recognize the longest standing and most active members in the group. The 10 signifies that a member has attended 10 events or more. And this is an opportunity to bring together these very senior, long-standing members to have more direct communication about what they see the group needs moving forward. And of course, we also arranged some fun activities with them. For example, yesterday we went cocktail making in the afternoon while many of you were busy in the workshops. And one of the great ideas which came out of our first 10 Club meeting in Chicago was actually our ethics committee. It was clear that us as an organization, we're judged on obviously the quality of the members and sometimes the situations which aren't black and white. And we thought and we agreed that it would be very important for us to create an ethics committee whenever there are issues between particular firms, maybe over competition, or perhaps someone's moved to a bigger firm and how, if they should retain their membership. In addition to this, you would have met, I'm sure, many rising stars here, and this was the launch of our Rising Stars program. So bringing in the best of your teams to have their start in the international networking world. And this is something which we also expect to considerably grow. We also created a new app, especially for this event, which was a focused app, which I look forward to hearing more of your feedback on. I'm sure it's not the finished product yet, but something which we'll keep developing. As many of you will know that we have had our own app built for a number of years now, but not without problems. So this has been a replacement and a tool which really, we hope, enables you to make the most of your event experience. Now, we also, and this was mentioned in the M&A group yesterday, but we also created a deal platform. So anyone, again, who's involved in transactional work, you are now able to submit deals and share opportunities directly with the other deal makers in the group. This is something everybody can use, and we now have a separate deal newsletter in which these are distributed. And this becomes especially important when we host our deal makers event, which, as mentioned, next year will be in Zurich. We also have a kind of a wider think tank, which was created, which we welcome everyone to join if you're interested, in which we use it to bounce ideas and new initiatives to get your feedback before we implement them. And finally, one of the newest initiatives is secondments. So an opportunity for you to exchange staff, if wish, with other firms in the network. It can be a great exchange of culture, of skills and knowledge. And again, it can help forge closer relationships between your firms. Now, just a brief note looking ahead to 2020. You obviously have just heard we're keeping ourselves pretty busy. So a lot of those initiatives are still in their infancy and still need a lot of our time and energy to make sure that they work effectively. But there are just a few points I'd like to make you aware of. The first of which, we're currently going through a new website development. I would call this more of a facelift rather than a new website. But of course, a business such as ours, which is growing so quickly with new initiatives, sometimes the website doesn't keep up with the pace of our own development. So we're currently going for a complete overhaul. This will be ready by the end of the year. It will be much slicker, much quicker, much better functionality, and I hope a useful tool for you to use on the go. We're now also in the process of considering our steering committees. I mentioned at the opening drinks that you have the different lanyards which you're all wearing. I hope you all recognize by now that those who are wearing yellow are our steering committees for our practice area groups and for our regional groups. At the end of each year, we'd like to rotate to bring in some fresh impetus and some fresh energy. So if you are sitting in the room and keen to get more involved in the network, if you are keen to play a more influential role, then I really would welcome your application and your interest. Generally, for each committee, we look to rotate 2 or 3 committee members, and these decisions will be made over the coming 3 to 4 weeks. Also, just like to mention briefly ACC. If you're not familiar with ACC, this is the largest in-house council organization in the world. We've been closely collaborating with them now over the last 2 years in creating thought leadership and content for their audience. And this has been done very successfully over the last 2 years. What's beautiful about this collaboration is we are also able to see the actual teams who have downloaded. So companies such as Uber, Duracell, Sony, WeWork, these are all companies who are directly downloading and using this material and using your expertise as a reference. So I think this has been very effective. We've got our next project coming up, I think, early next year. And if you are interested, I would suggest going to speak to Rachel again. You will have to act quick, and the reason being it is exclusive by jurisdiction. So we can only invite one firm from each country to get involved. But I think if you are keen, the subject next year will be managing risk in multinationals. So if it appeals, please have a chat with her. And finally, something which we're exploring more at the moment. So I don't want to say it's too concrete, but we are looking to also introduce some webinars for those of you who are interested, such as Julian, who you heard from earlier, and other speakers who speak on stage. If there's anyone who particularly appeals to you, if there's someone who you feel could give you added value, or perhaps even colleagues in your firm, we are looking to put together a program of this content so it can be shared with the rest of your community as well. So that's it from me for now. I'll pass you across to Ross. Thank you.
Thanks. Good afternoon. A bit like Tom, one of the things Julian Treasure said was, if you're going to do public speaking, make sure that you have an early night. Make sure that you're in bed nice and early. Well, unfortunately, when you do international conferences and you are English, you do end up spending quite a bit of time in the bar. So that's what I've done for the last 3 nights. So not really following the best advice, but there we go. So you've heard from Tom about some of the things the group's been doing. I just want to spend a few minutes talking about how you should be making the most of your membership. And then I'm going to move on to the presentation of the Member of the Year. But this is important. I know some of you will have heard this information before, but it is particularly relevant for the new members as well, because you come into the events, that's great, that's important, it's valuable, and hopefully you're all getting something from it. But we want to make sure that you're using the facilities and the tools that are available to you throughout the year. We don't want any dead time. We want to make sure that you're working effectively with people. So the people that you see behind you, these are your client management team. The idea is that they will speak to you every 3 months, more frequently if you wish. There's also the business development team of myself and Oliver and Samuel. We're also happy to talk to you as well. And we just want to make sure that you're using the membership effectively. So please make friends with them. They are important. So in terms of some of the things that we want to make sure that you are doing, if you're producing articles, success stories, papers, please share that with ourselves as well as your own audience. We will share it on our newsletter that you all receive that goes out every week. We also share it on social media as well, and we have over 40,000 social media followers. These are all lawyers, accountants, finance professionals, transaction specialists around the world who should be interested in what you've got to say. And if you are taking the time to produce this news, you really want it to be seen by as wide an audience as possible. But of course, this is showing your skills, your expertise, what's happening in your jurisdiction. So for those of you that are doing it, please share it with us. I actually personally think the most important thing is meeting people. So, of course, you all see the value of that, otherwise you wouldn't be here. We also have the regional meetings that Tom alluded to earlier. Of course, those are important. But one-on-one meetings when you go to visit other cities are incredibly valuable. So, if you can share your travel plans with ourselves, I always think that's really, really important. There is also the interactive travel calendar in the private members area. So what we suggest is if you are going to a particular city, let us know in advance. We will get in touch with that particular member, let them know you're going to be in town. Obviously, we have to feel as though there's a synergy there. But if there is a synergy, we want you to meet members. Because in many respects, this is still an old-fashioned business. People want to do business with people that they've met. Of course, as I say, that's why you're here. But also people that they trust and that they like. And that is very, very important. And the best way of doing that is through the meetings. So I know a lot of you do it, and it does work. And it's been one of the big success stories for us in recent times. I also think the IR branding on your website is important. So in your email signature, or perhaps more importantly, creating an international page, alongside your other relationships in societies and associations as well. But having information about IR Global on your website is incredibly valuable. If you can have our branding and information about your relationship with us, of course you have to put it into context, then that's what you should be doing. You want to be demonstrating to your clients or potential clients that you're part of a bigger group, a bigger community. You're all boutiques or mid-sized firms. You don't have offices all over the world. But what you're trying to demonstrate to your clients is, look, if you have requirements in different parts of the world, we have access to 155 jurisdictions. 70 different practice areas, lawyers, accountants, finance professionals. That's an incredibly powerful tool that you should be sharing with your members, because that makes you much more attractive to your clients and to potential clients. So if you haven't already done it, we can send you some examples, and the ones that do it, they look great. Tom mentioned the working groups as well, and you all had spent time with those yesterday. Please make sure that you engage with those. Following up from conferences is also incredibly important as well. Everybody follows up generally when they first get home, LinkedIn, business cards, quick email. But to me, you should be following up every month, every couple of months. But really the key people are, maybe 5, 10, 15 people that you meet at a conference such as this, because those are the ones that you really should be following up with. You're not going to make connections with 370 people. You're just not. But there should be little nuggets, 5, 10, 15 people that you've really connected with where you have opportunities to work together. And those are the ones that you should be following up with. Those are the ones that you should be sharing stuff, hopefully meeting, of course sending them referrals as well. So if you can do all those things, that's great. But most importantly is try not to do it all yourself. I know that many of you are boutiques, but if you can appoint somebody as an IR officer in your office, that's what the most successful members generally do. They don't try and do it all themselves. You're all very busy people. You all have your clients. We know what happens with those. So if it's somebody else's responsibility who may has a bit more time than yourselves to devote to the membership, that's what you should be doing. So we should be talking to them about your travel plans, about your articles, about your branding, and it's best served through somebody else. So please do take that on board. So, the Member of the Year. This is a concept that we've been running for a number of years now. And it's something that we actually generally really like and thinks it's important. The reason that we do it, okay, isn't just to recognise a handful of members and give a trophy. Of course, that's all very nice. But what we're trying to demonstrate to you is look to see how other members are using the group, and then we want you to replicate some of those things, because of course it's interesting and it's a powerful message from me, but I think it's even more powerful coming from where you actually see members putting this into practice. So the submission process works as this. A few months ago, maybe 6 months ago, we reached out to all members to say, do you want to nominate somebody for Member of the Year? Or you could also nominate yourself. We get lots of submissions in, we whittle that down, and then we ask up to 15, 20 people to send in their own specific submission. And it's really about how they use their IR membership. So yes, of course, referrals is important, both inbound and outbound, but also what are they doing to benefit other members? How are they promoting IR? How are they using it in terms of their pitching to their clients? And also what their IR membership means to them. So we get up to, as I say, 15 to 20 people. We then have the really tough part of whittling it down to the final 3. So these are the 3 finalists that you can see, and we each asked them to then put a more advanced submission into us, which we've then shared with yourself. And hopefully you've read them all, I hope. And I know that many of you in this room have voted for your own personal favourite, what you believe should be the winner. So I'm just going to go through each of their submission first. So first up we have Alex Cannon from Harrington Carmichael. There he is, yeah. Okay, so Alex is from England, for those of you that don't know. He's a corporate commercial lawyer. He's our banking and finance member. Alex has been in the group for a few years now, and he's made a lot of good friends and done some really good work. Now, Alex is the face, effectively, of the membership, but it's more than that with Harrington Carmichael. It's much more of a collaborative team effort, and that's been some of the good things that they've done. So they've done a really great job of promoting IR to their clients and to potential clients. They use it for pitching, they use it to get into directories, they use it in their own in-house magazine. So we're on their website. So IR is really front and center in their business. And what they've also successfully done over a period of years is they've managed to engage different people from within Harrington Carmichael, so in different practice areas. And so all those different specialists, in different disciplines, they are all referring cases to other IR members. So it's not just about Alex, he's done a great job. So they've really managed to engage the rest of the staff, and that's not easy to do, because otherwise everybody would do it. So they've really done it successfully. And I guess perhaps the strongest part of their submission this year has been the number of referrals that they've done. And in the last 12 months, it's well over 40, both inbound and outbound. So that's really healthy, and something that's got them to where they are, and we're grateful for that. So thank you, Alex. Next up is Bruce Lauren. Okay. Yeah, Bruce's firm, Lauren and Keane, they are construction lawyers in South Florida. Now, Bruce and Michael, his partner, who unfortunately can't be here today, they've been in the group for around 2.5 years. So out of the 3 finalists, they've been in the group the least amount of time. So in 2.5 years, they've really made a big impression into the group. Their referral activity is growing, but for me, and the reason that they have been nominated is because Bruce has played a really key role in driving the East Coast Working Group. So as Tom mentioned earlier, these are self-regulated groups. IR has a very light touch with them. Now, the East Coast Working Group, by its very nature, is a big group. There's well over 100 members in it, some very strong personalities, but it does mean somebody's got to look after them and organise it, and that responsibility's fell onto Bruce. And he's done a really great job. So they always meet at our conferences. They met in Fort Lauderdale earlier this year. But what Bruce has really done is he's gave up a huge amount of his own personal time to help others and to help the development of the group. And that's something that has worked really well. And so even though Bruce has benefited from it, what's perhaps more important is that other members of the East Coast group have also benefited as well. So the referral activity has really grown, and Bruce has really played a big part in that. And it probably won't come as any surprise that some of the members who voted for Bruce, they're from the East Coast group. And similar to Alex, I guess, some of the people who voted for Alex are the people that he's worked with. So thank you, Bruce. Last but no means least, we have Ross Coffle and Julia Coffle. Oh, yeah, she's there. So many of you will know Ross and Julia. Ross sits on our real estate steering committee. Julia sits on our practice management committee, and many of you will have been in sessions with her yesterday. Ross has been in the group. Coffle Solicitors, based out of Sydney, have been in the group for around 5 years now. They're a corporate commercial firm. Again, their referral record is very healthy. They've done a significant amount of work in Southeast Asia and the Asia-Pacific region, as you would expect, coming from where they are. And I guess their submissions, really, they're the all-rounder out of the three. Ross has also contributed a great deal to the Australasian working group. So that group meets in either an Australian city or a New Zealand city 3 or 4 times a year, generally. But again, somebody has to take the lead in that. And again, Ross has given up a huge amount of his time to do that. He also took a large delegation to our Tokyo conference earlier this year, and they hosted their own very successful working group. And they had really looking at investment opportunities within Australia and New Zealand. And while he was there, he also wrote our first ever case study, and you've seen that we worked on one of these yesterday. These aren't easy to put together, and Ross gave up a huge amount of his time to help us with that. So, Ross, very grateful for your efforts with that. And again, come as no surprise that his Antipodean buddies, they also voted for Ross. So, we asked you all to vote. It was over a 4 to 6 weeks period. We wrote out to you a few times. And I'm glad that we did it as we did, because we actually changed the process this year. Because in previous years, we've had a live vote at the event. But what that has meant is that lots of people weren't able to make their own votes. And this year, we've opened it up. So we've had a lot more votes, which is great. But also people who aren't able to come to the conference, perhaps they've never even met some of the members before, but they're able to learn more about their practice. And again, this is why we did it. So you've been voting in your droves over many weeks. Voting has closed, and we do have a winner, and I'm just going to tell you who that is, and then whoever it is, I'd like them to come up on stage and accept the trophy from me. Drum roll. Yeah. So the voting was very close. There was only 12% between first and third place, but of course there can only be one winner. And so the winner of the 2019 IR Global Member of the Year is Harrington Carmichael, Alex Canham. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Want to say a few words?
Well, firstly, I'd like to say thank you very much to everyone who voted for me. I think the most sort of important thing with this recognition is that it's voted for by my peers and people that we've worked with, people that we've met at various different events and conferences, and obviously that's why it means so much. Also like to thank IR for putting on the events. That's obviously where we all come together and meet the people that we end up doing business with. And then I think finally just like to pay tribute to Ross and Bruce as well. You know, both good guys, great members, and people that we've worked with as well through Harrington Carmichael. So, yeah, thanks to you both.
Here's yours. Well done. Yeah.